why did you end up really focusing with track, and not just track, but hurdles?
My father played soccer or football for a long time, but, you know, I didn't have the best relationship with him growing up, so I didn't want to touch a ball at all. So wanted to kind of find my own pathway. And I think running allowed me the opportunity. It's one of the easiest barriers to sports that you can possibly get into. It's so freeing and liberating in just that runner's high that you can experience, and just being with yourself or being with a group of people that pull you to a whole nother level. The fact that track and field, I truly believe, has an event for everyone, shape, color, size. Like, you have the ability to find something in which you can at least enjoy to do. One, in my journey in being a young man, we tend to wrap our identity in our successes, you know, what other people have to say about us. And so in the world of sports, where it's metrics, especially in track and field, a win or loss, a certain time defines who you are as an individual. So that is where a lot of us, like especially myself, rested my identity. Being able to be persistent, long suffering, you know, 12 years, and I'm still chasing something that I believe God has rested in my heart. Long suffering is something that you just have to go through when you're believing in something that you may or may not know what the outcome will be. I've had to deal with being evicted and being homeless.
When did you first kind of begin to dream about being an Olympian?
My dad was the local announcer at the track meets, and my older siblings were always taking part as well. And so it was sort of part of our family culture and psyche. And the first time I remember the Olympics sort of being the big thing was the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona. And my bedroom sort of like came off the side of our living room, and we had a big old TV on one of those wheeled base systems. And I remember getting an extension cord and bringing all the way around so I could watch the races in the middle of the night, because I was the opposite side of the world from New Zealand, right? So I remember at like 3 a.m. in the morning, a New Zealand woman who was 40 years old at the time, Lorraine Moller, won the bronze medal in the marathon. And I was screaming at the top of my voices and running down the house and telling my siblings, and I was 9 at the time. They're like, go back to bed, Nikki, go back to bed. But I was captivated by the moment. The athletes running along the main thoroughfares of Barcelona, and the crowd slowly getting deeper and deeper, 5, 6, 7, 10 deep. And as they enter the stadium with a completely full stadium, like, well, there's the temptation to think, okay, I'm going to use my running as a metaphor for how I need to approach my spiritual life. And that was initially when I was a young Christian. When I first started running at a world level, I only became a Christian when I was 20. And so I was always probably over spiritualizing a lot of acts and try to separate the two. But as I became older and more wise, I was like, no, I can actually reverse the cycle and approach to actually treat my sport as my spiritual discipline. And I really enjoyed that it wasn't a sacrifice, that this is something that I can do as both a witness and an example, but it was also helping my running. And I think in all areas that people are focused on, to treat your body like a temple is an important discipline, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a parent, whether you're a pastor, whatever it may be. You have to get rest, you have to eat healthy, and you have to look after yourself in order to be able to perform at your highest level, so that you can help and be a productive citizen for the limited number of days that we have on this planet.
Was there someone or something that got you interested?
It's probably the talent. It was there, just small trainings. I managed to get very, very good results. And probably the success, it motivated me to continue. But of course, there were some coaches and teachers and who saw that talent, and they motivated me to start to train. In sports, we have different people. Some are Muslim, some are from different religious backgrounds, different cultures, and we see lots of let's say, even people who are cheating. And unfortunately, these guys are also winning the competitions. They have their motivation, but probably it's not Jesus, but they still win. But as a Christian, I can say that we can't serve two masters at the same time. Because what I have been experiencing is that when I start to serve the other God beside of Jesus, it's just stealing half of my power, half of my motivation, my mental stability, and also spiritual balance. And I don't see the way how can I perform well as a Christian athlete at the same time serving somebody else.
Could you tell us, what was it like going to the Olympics for you the first time, the full experience?
I mean, my eyes were probably this big everywhere I went. I was so excited. I mean, since I was like an 8-year-old girl and I saw Mary Lou Retton do that perfect 10 vault, like I had wanted to go to the Olympics and stand on top of the podium. And I think just being in that environment, because you're in the village for like a month usually. And so we were there and you see the torch up there and you see, I mean, it's just Olympic rings everywhere you go. And I just wanted to soak it all in. Like, I'm actually here. I can't believe this is actually happening. So I was like a kid in a candy store. I absolutely loved it and ate it up.
Nice. And then what is it like preparing when you're actually there on site?
I mean, it really doesn't feel too different from a big competition, like a world championships or anything like that. You know, it's just a bigger arena, you know what I mean? And so it's the same athletic type facility, but maybe more people in the stands. There's cameras everywhere. So that's the kind of stuff that makes you feel like it's different, like it's a little more important. Something's a little bit bigger here.
You mentioned 2008 and retiring. Could you talk to us a little bit about your dreams of wanting a family?
So there was a really hard period in there where I wasn't sure if we could get pregnant, if we could have kids. Who am I? Because if I can't be a diver and I can't be a mom, like who am I? And I remember diving into scripture and I got stuck in 2 Corinthians, you know, where Paul's talking about he's been given this thorn and he keeps pleading with God, just take this thorn, take this thorn. He like pleads with him like 3 times. And God's answer is, my grace is sufficient. Mm-hmm. And I got so stuck there because I didn't feel like God was enough for me. If I couldn't dive and I couldn't be a mom, I wasn't okay with that. And I struggled with that. But instead of just, you know, leaving God and like kind of running the other direction, I wrestled with it. And I was like, okay, here's my problem is I don't feel like you're enough if I can't be these things, but I need you to be enough. Whether I can or can't do those things, like you have to be enough for me. And so it took me kind of months of like grieving the fact that I may not be a mom. Maybe his plans for me are not to be a mom. And I got to learn to be okay with that because it's about his plan and his purpose.
Did you start running when you were a child? Was this, you know, when did this desire and this interest for running develop?
I'm a late bloomer. I started in the 9th grade. I always tell people basketball led me to track. Wow. And one of the women on the basketball team was runner-up at state in the 400, and they just had me, you know, she was a senior, I was a freshman, just really had me guard her, like, oh, you go guard Heather, you know. But I was able to keep up with her up and down the court because they would just, of course, throw her fast breaks, and she would just, you know, go, and they were like, wow, maybe you should run track. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And they're like, it'll help with basketball. I was like, well, anything for that. You know, I always tell people I thought I was going to UConn. I love Diana Taurasi. Like, I'm a Husky through and through. You know, I was just like, that's my dream school. And so it led me to the track team where I just asked people like, why do you do this every day? Like, this hurts. This doesn't feel good. I tried multiple events. I tried the 100 first. I started in lane 1 and ended in lane 6. So y'all know how that goes. That wasn't really my event. They were like, yeah, we don't want you out here doing this. And so eventually I got to the 400, and my first time ever running it, I ran 64. And my coach said I ran same arm, same leg, but I don't know how that's possible because I can't do that to save my life now. You know, for $1 million, I can't do it. And so for me, basketball led me to track. And, you know, my freshman year, I actually got second to Heather all year until district. I finally won. It's just amazing. I mean, it basically lets you know that it's okay to want to win. I think a lot of times when we talk about humility, we talk about a Christian, I don't think people include winning in that. They want you to be like humble in defeat, they want you to be, humble and all these other things. And it's like, wow, God really wants us to go for the gold and to really do the very best that we can, like whether that results in first place or last place. If we've done the very best that we can, there will be different opportunities to glorify him, in our struggle, or, if you're getting last and the people say, what happened? We have an opportunity to glorify him. When we win, we have an opportunity to glorify him. But I think that the main thing there is that we're competing in such a way that is about God, and that he's going to be glorified no matter the outcome. And I think that's the biggest thing that I learned with pursuing excellence, that, it's so much bigger than me. Yes, I'm a vessel, and, I do have a gift and I possess it and I use it to glorify God, but it's so much bigger than me.
Will you share with us how you got started running?
Yes. So I started running when I was 5, and I was doing a different sport. I was doing t-ball at the time. And I feel like it was just a time where my mom was kind of placing me in just different events to see different sports to see what I picked up on. And so I had done like t-ball, and then our season ended with that. And then she was, wanted me to be put in something else. And so that's when in the same area, there was a field, a track on a Saturday. And, we had just finished our season, like I said, and then my mom was like, like, let's see, what that's about. And so we went there, and I didn't practice that same day, but I remember going there when I was younger, and just kind of seeing that so many kids were around and just looked like they were having a great time, and, that's kind of how we got started. And I feel like my mom, she chose me to go in the 800 because it was just that event that kids weren't really wanting to do. I mean, no kid wants to run twice around the track. I mean, that's kind of like punishment. And so I was, specifically in the 800 instead of like the 2 or the 1, which would be more fun. And that's kind of how I just got started. And I mean, people that remember when I was younger, I used to cry around the track and, not take practice serious, just laughing, holding hands with friends, skipping around the track, being a 5-6-year-old.
I want to ask, because I was watching in an interview, a couple things came up in it. One was, you mentioned prayer a lot, which I thought was amazing. They were like, how did you run this race? And you're like, I really prayed about it. And then a few seconds later, they asked something along the same lines. And you said, again, I prayed about that. And then you also talked about strategy.
I feel like when my relationship or I wasn't as kind of strong in my faith as I am now, I was concerned about the outcome, just nervous. And nerves are natural, but once you understand it, you've kind of understood in your mind that, this is going to happen regardless. And this, whatever outcome is the best for me, it just changes your perception a little bit. And you're just like, well, all I can do is just go out there and just give it my best. And that's kind of how I've grown in so many ways. But yeah, it's taken a long time to get there. And even now, like with more so with trials and how things it just seems like there's a lot of anxiety, anxiousness kind of going into, even with the whole global pandemic, just part of everything. I mean, there aren't as many races that professionals were able to run. And then there's the excitement and the curiosity about, early in the year, when are we going to be able to do things? So I feel like there was this energy that's, what are we going to be able to do? Or when can we do it? Or just a lot of anxiousness. And I feel like that's super tied into Olympic trials, because you have this year, then it's like, boom, Olympic trials. And it's like super heightened anxiety, but just remembering and staying reassured through devotionals, that's kind of helped me have an easy mind and go into races way stronger. And then now that this is a year that I've gotten so much closer with God, it makes me even much more prepared going into strategy.
So you started running in high school, and then where did you find your passion for long distance?
So at my high school, I wanted to be a sprinter. Everybody wants to be a sprinter because I don't think you have to not that sprinters don't work hard, but you don't have to run for as long. You run for 10 seconds or as much as, 60 seconds in a 400. But our coaches wanted to see if there was kind of any hidden talents in different events. So before even our first meet of the year, we would do an inter squad meet, and we were required to try 6 different events. And so during that inter squad meet, we had an 800 that I did. And I asked another girl, I said, oh, what would be a good time, to run here? And she was like, oh, anything under 3 minutes would be good. And I think I ran 2:40. And they were like, yeah, you're in the wrong event. And so they ended up pulling me over to the distance squad. And then I hadn't even done cross country yet. So I was kind of forced into doing cross country that fall, and have kind of fell in love with it ever since.
I read an article about how your faith really helped you during COVID. With, knowing that 2020 was here, you've worked so hard for it, and now what's going to happen? Can you share some of that journey with us?
Yeah, I think a lot of times in my running career, when I had injuries, I feel like the Lord, or a phrase that I've kind of picked up is you have to hold your dreams with open hands. Because I think we have these dreams, in our head, but we don't know what the Lord's plans are, for our life. And so I think that was the same feeling that we felt during COVID was, Lord, we don't know what's going to happen. I give you this dream and this desire. And so that was kind of our feeling too. And that anything can be taken in an instant, and I remember very specifically, we were having dinner with some friends in April last year. And a friend was like, oh, do you think they're going to cancel the Olympics or postpone? And I was like, oh, there's no way. I was so naive. And then, a couple of weeks later, it was canceled or postponed. I think the hardest part for my husband and I was we were wanting to start a family. And so that, kind of got postponed a year. But yeah, I felt like used the time to really dig into our faith. And, we were able to read, the Bible more and kind of make some of those habits stick even when things started to open back up again. So we feel very fortunate. We kept our jobs and didn't have a lot of, hardship during that time, but yeah.
Yeah. So you got to lean into him. Okay. So take us back to when you first started running. And I like that it was something that you decided to try.
Yeah, the clouds did not part and a beam from heaven did not come down and descend on me and say, this is the next Olympian. You have to get her into running. And I think it's so easy to look back and collect all the signs of future success and say, oh, this was bound to happen. And that's just not the case. I mean, most people find what they're good at because either they tried a lot of things and they found something, or because they just were really dedicated to one thing. And just over time, that accumulation of dedication turned into something that looks like success. And so that's definitely my story. I never played any other sports. I started running in elementary school and just committed to it and loved it. And I really think there's nothing really in particular about me along the way that was like, this girl's going to be an Olympian someday. I think it was just an accumulation of year after year after year, just really sticking with it and adding one extra thing every year to get a little bit better. And like I said, I started running, I'll be 35 this summer. So I probably started running 25 or more years ago. So if you just do one more thing right every year, in 25 years, it's going to add up.
Can you speak a little bit to, on your website, you've got a couple short phrases. One is be brave. The other is live right. And the last one is work hard.
Briefly, because I could go on for a long time about this, but what I just spoke about commitment and faithfulness, we pray a lot for God to be faithful to us, and we pray that promise down on us, but we're also supposed to be faithful, and we're supposed to be faithful to that work. And so I work hard to me is all about, you know, I don't feel burdened by my calling, but I know that I have to do the work. And so I think there's a significant difference between feeling like this weight of intensity and pressure. And I definitely feel that sometimes, but learning to release that without releasing the responsibility and the commitment and the dedication to the really hard work that's ahead. Being an athlete of any kind with Olympic dreams, it's a tough life to choose, because it's unrelenting. You just have to be in it every day, every minute of every day. And so the faithfulness to that is a challenge at times. And so the work is mine to do, even though I don't have to necessarily be crushed or burdened by it. And then live right. There's so many things about running that teach me every day, you know, how to be a better woman, how to be a better wife, how to be a better mentor, how to be a better daughter. And so, you know, running is not just about like trying to win the next race or being in the best physical fitness ever, but also about like, how do I want to live my life? There's a really great Quaker expression that says, let your life speak. And that so resonated with me when I heard that. I thought that is what I want my whole life to be.
Can you talk to us about when you started playing sports and what you did like as a child growing up? Because I understand that running was something you did later.
Yeah. I was a multiple sport athlete all growing up. My dad was a collegiate basketball coach when I was young. So, naturally I was exposed to basketball a lot. I was always, a taller kid and skinnier kid. And that was kind of what I did. Also did baseball, soccer, marching band, even into high school. It wasn't until my junior year that I started running for the first time in a competitive way. Otherwise, it was just, out hustling guys in sprints at the end of practice or whatever. That was kind of my first taste of that kind of competitive itch to do endurance running. So I think that all contributed to the athlete that I am today. Skill development and coordination and just a competitive desire. It was fostered in those other experiences that I had that, I took that to the track and I think now as a coach too, and having had as many teammates as I've had in my career too, the ones that have that kind of more diverse background with team sports often are really good at translating that competitiveness to the track.
Do you have some spiritual practice that have served you well?
I think that this is something that is unique to distance runners, maybe more than some other athletes, to get in a place where you're, on your own. I do nearly all of my training by myself. And so, sometimes I'll take a podcast along or a song or some music, but oftentimes I'm alone with my thoughts, and where they take me is where they take me. Sometimes it's down memory lane. Sometimes it's into my dreams for what I can do with this running thing, or a segue between the both of them. But many times I talk to the Lord and reflect on what I'm facing, whether it be running related or not, whether it's family or spiritual battle or for bearing somebody else's burden with them, or feeling that. Something about being on a run too, for me, it can kind of and I think for many people, it kind of can break a little of the resistance to emotions. Maybe, I don't know if it's the elevated heart rate or what, but can get in touch with yourself a little bit more and maybe communicate with God a little bit better than you would just doing something else.
Okay. What is the best facility to run at?
Hayward Field here in Eugene, Oregon is definitely one of the best. I have not been able to see the new and improved Hayward, but even the older stadium was amazing. And like we were talking before, what makes it, one of the reasons why it's so great is the fans. They're just so into running, and they just really get it, and they're so engaged, and that really helps us. It's that extra momentum we need when we're out there. I would also say one of my favorite is in Monaco, Monte Carlo. It was like paradise. So everyone runs fast in Hayward, and everyone runs fast in Monaco. So we like to run fast. So that's what makes them great stadiums. Yeah.
College years were there were important moments for you as a person and as an athlete. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like?
Absolutely. Yeah. First time away from mom and dad, who were such an instrumental part of my career and my success. And in a way, kind of feeling like I was letting them down because of all the sacrifices they made for me to become this phenomenal runner. And now I'm in college and I'm not running as well. And so I definitely felt like I was letting not just them down, but everybody who followed my career and was expecting me to dominate in college. I just felt like I was letting so many people down.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot of pressure. So what was your journey, and where did you find support to navigate that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I did not find it until after college. After college, I was introduced to my faith, and that was life-changing. Just to hear that, Chanelle, you are so much more than a runner. Running is what you do. It's not who you are. And you're a child of God, and he loves you so much. And it doesn't, despite your performance, his love for you never changes. And that to me was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders. I just felt free again when I was running. I had so much joy out there. It was fun again. Just because, like you said, there was just so much pressure and so much expectation that I was putting on myself that I hated it. It wasn't fun anymore. And so to be introduced to my faith and Christianity, that was definitely life-changing.
Tell us a little bit about your Olympic journey. Like, at what point did this become a dream for you?
This Olympic journey, it probably became a dream when I first got invited to the National Training Center. I think I was around 11 or 12, and I got really excited about the possibility of taking that Olympic journey because all of the past Olympians before me had started at that spot, and it really just inspired me to continue working.
I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 9:24, verses 24 through 27. All right. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. What does that verse stir up for you?
It means a lot. It basically, for me, I take it as I already have a stable prize. I already have the everlasting prize of my salvation with God, and I have a secure salvation, and God creates the results and he rewards the hard work. I myself do not create the results that come from any of my training, and he does. So everything that I have to give to him. And I can rest in knowing that no matter what my physical results are at a competition, I can rest in a stable and secure prize of salvation.